This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblue, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. It's a Founders Federal Football Friday night for you across the state of South Carolina. Hope you're ready for some football. It actually got underway for us in the state last night with Coastal Carolina going to Atlanta and just spanking Georgia State all over the stadium there in Atlanta. And it was quite the strong performance by Coastal Carolina. Got off to the quick start, built a 14-0 lead, withstood a touchdown by Georgia State, responded, and continued to build the lead. Grayson McCall was outstanding until he was injured late in the ballgame. I think he's okay. Had some lower leg, maybe ankle-type issues, but they had the offense going last night, Coastal Carolina did, with the passing game they finished with over 500 yards of offense. They ran it well, and they threw it well, and they go to 4-0 on the season. But what really stood out was after the game, Coach Jamie Chadwell. Like, I've never heard him before. He flat out called Georgia State a dirty football team. In fact, we'll let you hear the interview with Chris and Coach Chadwell coming up in just a little bit. In fact, Chris is now with us after being in Atlanta with Coastal Carolina last night. And Bergie, great post-game interview with Jamie Chadwell. I've never heard him, not only those comments, just his overall, just listening to his voice. I wasn't there to look at him, but listening to his voice, his overall demeanor and sound was like he sounded mad, but at the same time excited about a great road win in the Sun Belt. Pat, do we have Chris with us? I am told he's there, but I'm not hearing it.
I'm back, Phil. I'm sorry, my computer got locked up, so I apologize. It's evidently got jet lag too.
Yeah, a lot of jet lag from Atlanta. What's that, about a 45-minute flight to the beach?
I think total of 48 minutes.
Did you hear my question? Okay, so I was talking about your really good interview with Coach Chadwell after the game. I've never heard him like that. Now, you've been around him since he's been the head coach. You've done all the interviews. You hear him every week, so maybe for you it was old hat. What'd you think about what he said, and does he face some repercussion around the league, maybe from the commissioner's office, over what he said directly and bluntly about Georgia State, calling them a dirty team?
Well, first off, from the perspective of had I ever seen or heard Jamie Chadwell sort of as colorful as he was last night, the question is an emphatic no. I mean, this is a guy that if he says heck, he kind of blushes because that's a harsh word for him. But he was very poignant in what he said last night. He got straight to the point. I mean, that was within 20 seconds of our post-game conversation beginning with him on radio. And he basically called Georgia State a dirty team, and they were trying to do it. And most of that, I think, probably has to do with Grayson McCall and some of the things that happened once he got hurt. You can look back, and I think coaches and fans can look at things through, obviously, their own lens. But I don't think there's any question that I hate to get on, but this is what Jamie said. But I hate to get on players for being dirty. But there was a chance for them, Georgia State's defenders, to possibly try and hurt Grayson McCall last night when they tackled him and knocked him out of the ball game. He did not come back. He probably could have had that game gotten really, really tight and they needed him, but they felt like the game was in hand. They've got, 9 days before they play, Georgia Southern again on Saturday next week in Conway. But, yeah, I've never heard Jamie quite like that before, and that upset at any team. Normally he'll give as much praise to the other team as he does his own. But he saw some things last night out of Georgia State that he did not like. and was not shy about mentioning it in our post-game conversation with him. Now, in terms of repercussions, it's not – I can't imagine the league would come down on him for that because he didn't call out the officials. That's sort of the no-no of any league. If coaches start talking about bad officiating and that type of thing, that's normally when the league step in. I don't know that the league would step in and Sunbelt and Keith Gill, the commissioner, would have anything to do with this. I think it's probably a situation now. I'm guessing right now, especially if Sean Elliott is the head coach at Georgia State next year, when those two teams meet in Conway, I'm guessing that's probably a game that has been marked on the calendar. Much the way I got the sense last night, Phil, that Coastal had been looking forward to last night's game for a long time after what they believe they let one slip away to Georgia State last year at home. And as you pointed out in the story, it's a weird series. The road team's 6-0 now in that series. I'm not sure I've ever seen a series between two teams where the home team can't ever win. Of course, Georgia State has no home field advantage. I mean, there may have been 1,500 people in the facility last night. If you watched it on television, you saw you could count the people in attendance. It was just a bad crowd in downtown Atlanta. So they don't really have a home field advantage, which I think probably hurts them somewhat. And they're struggling. They're now 0-4. But I don't think the Sun Belt would step in and do anything in terms of a fine to Jamie Chadwell or suspension or anything to that nature.
Yeah, well, as you might imagine, our timeline blew up with the quotes and with your interview. And I guess maybe it was Georgia State fans or fans of other teams who presented evidence of dirty play by Coastal Carolina. And it was like, who is Jamie Chadwell to call other teams dirty when his team does this, his team does that. And I think the most cited clip was from the BYU game. I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Where a couple
Jeffrey
of Chanticleers. Yeah, and well, it's 2-on-1, and they knock the guy down. He gets up, they knock him back down again, and they're citing that as, as dirty play. So do you think, does Coastal have, as you make the travels, do you hear any stuff like that? Do you hear complaints from the other side? Are they often accused of that?
I don't think so. Now, when they first got into the Sun Belt and moved up to FBS, I don't think anybody said much about Coastal at all because they weren't very good. Now that they're a conference championship type team and a contending program year in and year out, you're going to see this. And I did find it interesting that BYU fans of all teams jumped on our timeline last night. You had to go back 2 years to find something of evidence of a Coastal player being dirty. And that was actually against Zach Wilson in that game. And I think if memory serves, Wilson had just thrown an interception. Well, quarterbacks are usually free game once you throw a pick. And if memory serves as well, I don't think the officials ever threw a flag on that. Now, again, last night in Grayson McCall's scenario, there was not a flag thrown on that either. So, I think every fan base, I think Gamecock fan base could go back through and find plays of any team and say, well, they're dirty because they did this. I think Clemson fans could go back through and do the same thing. Any fan base, if you look hard enough, you're going to find a play from a team you don't like and say, well, how does this coach have any leg to stand on when he coaches this type play? I don't think Jamie Chadwell coaches that way. I really don't. And but he was not too pleased with how Georgia State played last night for sure.
Well, we'll play those comments coming up when we have an opportunity here in a little bit. We've got the football filibuster at the bottom of the hour. David Shelton on high schools coming up in a few minutes. Got some great high school matchups tonight. Lee Sterling with his Sterling picks. We'll have our picks from our illustrious panel, second to none in all of college football pick'ems, would be our illustrious panel of losers. Mike Morgan tells us, as he has the last 2 weeks, that he'll be with us tonight. Of course, he stiffed us the other night, and he stiffed us last week. So we'll cross our fingers and our toes and hope that Mike joins us tonight a little bit after 7 o'clock. He was on the call of that game last night in Atlanta. Yeah. So did you punch him for me for not being on schedule the other night?
I did not physically assault him in the press box, if that's what you're asking. No, I did not do that. But we chatted for a few minutes and kind of reminded him, hey, look forward to having you back on Sports Talk. So hopefully he'll be with us tonight and got a good game to recap. And we get his take. I mean, he's been around the Coastal program before too, and his thoughts about what Jamie had to say last night.
All right, Jeff Owens on NASCAR, and, of course, a visit from George Bryan III, birdies and bogeys around South Carolina. I'm sure he'll talk a lot about what's happening with the President's Cup over in Charlotte. Man, I was watching some of the some of the play last night, the replay, the crowds were huge. I mean, they were lining the fairways, the holes that I was watching. A great turnout of golf fans for this at Quail Valley in Charlotte. Right now, round 2, and the Americans have extended their lead. They're playing 4-ball today. They've extended their lead to 8-2. This is going to be a rout. Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas got a win. Patrick Cantlay, Zonder Schauffele got a win. Billy Horschel, Max Homa got a win. The Kevin Kisner, Cameron Young match is in a tie right now, and Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns tied in their match as well. So, and George might have even been over there. He told me he was thinking about going to Charlotte, so he might have even been there, and that will make it all the more better. So we have got a great, great show for you tonight. When we take calls, it's 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And since 2002, more than $4.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund scholarships and grants for South Carolina students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Pat Daniel is back in our Dave and Buster studios in Columbia. Eat, drink, play, and catch all the big games all season long. There are games tonight, high school games, college games tonight, and, of course, games all weekend long. We'll be talking about that coming up in a little bit. Be sure to visit Robert at 1025 Woodruff Road in Greenville at the Dave & Buster's there. Duran at 100 Columbiana Circle. That's in Columbia. And Steve at Broadway at the Beach, 1322 Celebrity Circle. That's where Chris hangs out a lot. He and Smitty down there at the beach there. Celebrity, so they hang out at Celebrity Circle. They'll see Steve at that location of Dave & Buster's at Broadway at the Beach in Myrtle Beach. Great to have them on board with us. Looking forward to doing shows from Dave & Buster's and doing some other great stuff for you from them. So to the break we go, and on the other side, we'll dial up David Shelton and talk about tonight's high school football slate, some of the top games around the state, and also get David's reaction to the news from the Shrine Bowl this week that indeed they will have their game this December, but it will be at Spartanburg High School. First time going back to a high school stadium since they played in Rock Hill for a few years, many, many years ago. I think Wofford has been the home ever since then, if my memory's right. And we'll be back after the break.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wings flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef. It's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
Thank you. Thank you for world-traveling rocket scientists. For tires bigger than your grandma's house. For 3D printing research. For artists in residency. Thank you for all the things that take us to the next level. Thank you for playing the lottery, for funding scholarships, for funding grants, for funding innovation in this state. Thank you. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
We are back on the high school football, well, not the high school scoreboard. I'm so used to hearing that during the scoreboard. We're back on the Founders Federal Football Friday night. I'm getting my shows ahead of me here. We will have the high school football scoreboard for you tonight, coming up at 10:05. But when I hear the fight songs, my mind automatically defaults to the high school football scoreboard. In the process of getting David Shelton on board with us. And as a matter of fact, I think we've got David standing by now, getting ready for another busy Friday night of high school football. Nope, not yet. We'll have David with us here momentarily, but we do have a good slate of games. Once again, a lot of teams are going to be off tonight because they played on week 0, so they're taking the night off tonight. But I mean, some of the games we've got tonight: Fort Dorchester at Gaffney. You've got St. Francis of Maryland. That's a big time program coming down to play Dutch Fork. Sumter going to Oceanside. Marlboro County at Dillon. We'll see if that's a big one or not in terms of the competition. That used to be one of the best rivalries in the state.
No doubt. I don't see it
West
being much
Florence. How about Burns? How about Burns coming down to Florence to play West Florence?
I tell you, I was chatting with a couple of colleagues last night, and I said, boy, Joe DeGenerette's not afraid to play anybody, anytime, anywhere now that he's over at West Florence. He usually had a pretty good schedule when he was coaching at Ainer, but good grief. To get Burns to come in the week before you open up play in arguably the best, or maybe inarguably the best region in the state in Region 6-4A. But what a tune-up. And that obviously is going to be the game of the week around here in the PD for sure.
Yeah. It should be a big crowd out there. Now, does West Florence, I know you just did their game the other night. Are they still playing at the stadium out by the airport, or have they built some on-campus stadiums?
All 3 Florence School District 1 teams, or high schools, which is Wilson, West Florence, and South Florence, now have their own on-campus facility that they opened up 2 years ago. Prior to that, they all played out at Memorial Stadium, which is right near the Florence International Airport. Great story. One day I need to tell you about the key at the Florence Airport, but that's for another day. But that's where they used to play. But instead, now they all have on-campus facilities, and they're really nice. And I think all 3 high schools are extremely excited about not having to. As a matter of fact, it was funny when West Florence would play Darlington. It was actually closer for West to travel to Darlington High School than it was to go play a home game at Memorial Stadium. So you can imagine how exactly. So you can imagine how excited all 3 schools were when they learned they were getting their own facility and did not have to traipse out there, where it was just a old stadium and well-worn stadium that had long surpassed its time. So nice facilities that they all have, synthetic turf, the whole 9 yards. So I think all 3 schools are really excited about that.
Last time I flew out of Florence was to go to Omaha for the College World Series, and for some reason, flying out of Florence was a cheaper way to go from Florence to Charlotte to, I think, Kansas City, and then drive to Omaha. And I remember pulling up about 5 in the morning and parking literally at the front door of the terminal and walking in and going into this back room with a few other people, and we hopped on this prop. I guess it wasn't I don't know what was the airline back then. It wasn't American or whatever, and taking that prop to Charlotte and then hopping on a jet to go to Kansas City. But that was, I pulled up right to the front door, and like you, I felt like I had my own key. I could just open the door and walk right in. So, hey, let's go to your piece. Here is Chris with Jamie Chadwell. last night, right after the Chanticleers defeated Georgia State. This is, you don't hear this from coaches very often. So here's Chris and Coach Chadwell.
Our guys dominate football. And I'm going to tell you what I'm most proud of. If you didn't watch the game, you're a fan of us, that team over there was pretty dirty. They were cheap. They were doing things to us, and our guys didn't get involved with that. I'm very proud of that because it could have got out of hand, and they tried to make it get out of hand, and our guys did a good job of that. So I'm proud that we got the victory, proud of how they handled themselves there, and we responded when we need to. You know, our demise has been exaggerated, and so we know what type of team we have here, and we start getting everybody back. Watch out.
In the third quarter, you had a 9+ minute drive, punched it in for a score. How important was that for your team?
It was huge. You know, we dominate the first half, and then they score right before halftime, and it's whatever the score was, 20, whatever it was. I don't know. Anyway, they're down 10, and we dominated. And so they get the drive, they get the ball, we get a stop, and then we milk the clock. And I think we took their soul right then, and we had chances to really just rip their heart out. And then we threw the pick in some of those and screwed up some third downs, missed a field goal. But that was a big deal. We ran the ball. We had 83 plays. They're 58. They're a tempo team. They're normally running 80-something plays. We dominated their tails.
How well did you feel your defense played tonight against that tempo?
I thought they were outstanding. We gave up. I mean, if you look right here, we gave up the stupid drive there before halftime, and we just didn't do a good job. Besides that, they had that one drive in the first half. They got the big pass when we screwed up. But we made them work for stuff. And I think they had 300 yards of total offense, which they're averaging whatever they're averaging. I thought we made the quarterback have to – he made some nice throws, but we tried to make him beat us from the pocket. We got some turnovers from that. And when our backs against the wall, they stepped up. This was a great team win. And there's some stuff we did stupid. But, hey, want to know? Shots win on TV, baby.
And also on the road, especially here now 3-0 in Atlanta. And Coach, obviously,
can't spell ATL without teal. Y'all remember that.
Coach, obviously, I guess the biggest question to ask is how's Grayson McCall? What happened to him on that play?
Well, the way the season's going right now, he probably have a broke ankle with all the injury we got. Don't start tweeting that out, Joe, and you too, Lane. But, he hurt his ankle there. Again, they tackled him low, and he twisted it cheap. And so if he had to finish, we could have probably had him finish. But it's a sprain, so we'll see. Hopefully he's back for Georgia Southern. He's never played versus Georgia Southern, so it must be he don't want to play against him, I guess. But we'll have to figure it out, get him back, and get him healthy. But he's tough. And hey, I will say this too: I was proud of Jarrett Guest. Comes in, we play Bryce, we bring Jarrett Guest in. He throws just a terrible pick, terrible, and allow them back in it where we're comfortably ahead, and you're a little panicky. And then we go on a drive, and he just trucks a DB down there, man, and it was very proud of him.
In terms of injuries to your football team, how important is the extra day or so of rest going to be, do you believe?
It's going to be huge. We get back tomorrow, and we can clean this stuff up, and they got Friday, they got Saturday, they got Sunday, and you get back Monday. We needed that, and hopefully those 3 days we can get some guys back, that are unhealthy. Hopefully him for sure, because it's that how ankles are. But we need to get some guys back. I don't know if we'll get anybody back that needs to come back, but got to keep finding a way.
That is truly the most animated I've ever heard Jamie Chadwell. Of course, like I said, you're around him after ball games. Is he like that after most ball games?
No, that was somewhat out of character for him. And as I pointed out earlier, I mean, here's a guy when he says something like heck, he almost blushes because he's not a guy who curses. That's just not. He's a very religious man, and so the cursing is not in his repertoire. And he didn't in that. Obviously, that was safe for adults and children. But yeah, no, he was. And that was actually a milder version of the halftime conversation I had with him. And he was furious with his football team at halftime. And I catch him coming out of the locker room. So he had already had the opportunity to yell at his team, cool off, and then come chat with me. And he was still, as Joe Cash had brought up, that's who Joe and Lane are, the two broadcasters for Coastal, Joe Cash and Lane Harris, that he referenced in there about not tweeting. But Joe called it edgy, and I think that's what he was. And I think that the football team played like that last night. For whatever reason, Phil, I really believe they had circled that game, and I think they felt like they let one get away from them last year against Georgia State. They were not going to let that happen again last night.
Yeah, and he's obviously sensitive to people who are saying, hey, Coastal's slipping a little bit. They're not going to be as good as they were last year. And, I mean, that's a nice kind of a statement win on the road for them to open up conference play.
Kind of like what Clemson deals with, isn't it? You start winning a bunch, and then when you maybe lose a game or two or don't perform quite as well as your fan base and people think you should, then there must be something wrong with the team. No, Clemson's fine, and Coastal's fine. They're both undefeated.
All right.
And Clemson's got a chance to do the same tomorrow at Wake Forest.
All right, David Shelton will join us in a few minutes. We just connected with him. We've got the football filibuster coming up first, and that's coming up after the break.
Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. We'll be cooling down considerably tonight with a low temp dipping to 49. Tomorrow, beautiful day to tailgate and enjoy football, sunshine, and a high of 81. Warmer on Sunday as we climb back to 90 as a high. There's a slight 20% chance of a Sunday evening shower. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting military-aged men have joined an exodus from Russia on the second full day of a partial military mobilization. They filled planes and caused traffic jams at land borders in desperate bids to avoid being rounded up to fight in Ukraine. A traffic jam of 6 miles formed on a road in southern Russia leading to the land border with Georgia. That's according to Yandex Maps, a Russian online map service. The lines of cars at the border with Kazakhstan were so long that some people abandoned their vehicles and headed to the border on foot. A NASA researcher and Texas A&M University professor has pleaded guilty to charges related to hiding his ties to a university created by the Chinese government while accepting federal grant money. Zhendong Cheng pleaded guilty to 2 counts. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 486 points. More details at srnnews.com.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on shooterschoicesc.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, shooterschoicesc.com. Make it your first choice. Your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Hi, this is Marsha Klayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for The Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on The Point for The Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? No, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted Best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net, or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
Well, it's time here on the program every Friday night where we kind of slow things down. You know, we were all fast-paced first half hour, talk about a lot of things. Jamie Chadwell calling Georgia State a bunch of dirty players and things like that, and speeding along. But now we slow things down for a couple of gentlemen who need a little bit of time to think things through as we get to the football filibuster for this week, as we have former Governor Jim Hodges and current Attorney General Alan Wilson, two of the great leaders of the state of South Carolina, picking 5 games on a weekly basis. And gentlemen, great to have you with us. And through the first 3 weeks, we are deadlocked 8-7 for each of you. So it's a very tight race as we move through the month of September. Great to have you back with us. Governor Hodges, you were in Oregon last Friday night. Where are you tonight?
Shandon in Columbia, South Carolina.
A much more pristine area than Bend, Oregon, I would say.
Yeah, I'm home, which is great.
I'm going to stop by there one day. I didn't know it was in Shandon. I'll come knocking on your door one afternoon, and, maybe you can give me a cold beer. You keep cold beer in stock?
Absolutely. If you come by here, I'll make sure you have a cold beer.
General Wilson, how are you tonight, sir? It's great to have you with us.
Hey, it's great to be back. I have to say, Governor, I think Phil let off the segment saying that you and I are both slow. I'm just saying. That's kind of got the vibe that I got.
I'm just saying,
You're
I
right.
try to go a little slower for you guys, just so that you can keep up with the pace of the show. We slow it down just a little bit.
We both appreciate that.
There you go. There you go. All right, 8-7 as we go into the 4th week of the schedule. We've got 5 games for you. So, General, let's let you lead off tonight, and we'll begin with Notre Dame at North Carolina, and the Tar Heels are favored at home by 1.5.
Well, don't they normally give you, if you're the home team, 3 points, and on a neutral field, they think Notre Dame would win, but because it's at home, only favored by 1.5. So I'm going to go with North Carolina, although this might be one I change in the amendment section.
Be careful now, because we had some voting issues with last week, some counting issues of the votes last week. We're about like the state of Georgia when it comes to counting votes. So be careful when you start changing things around. We get confused. We get easily confused. But I hear you. We're going to try and stick with you. All right, you got North Carolina. Governor, what are you doing?
Well, my lawsuit was successful, so I was able to hang on to that one this last week.
You were the one that called it. That's right.
Actually, thought I missed it. So I'm going to pick North Carolina as well. I just can't help but think of Marshall and Cal when I think of Notre Dame, and it's just hard for me to imagine that with Derek May being quarterback, that North Carolina isn't going to put 40 points up. So I'll take North Carolina.
All right, you both taking the Tar Heels. Let's go to Arkansas at Texas A&M. Okay, we'll see what Arkansas has here in the next 2 weeks. Texas A&M this weekend and Alabama next weekend. And it is actually the Aggies, Governor. Aggies at home are favored by 2.
I just think that's a mistake. I really like the way that Arkansas plays. They have a pretty basic offense. Let's hope Coach Satterfield's listening to that tonight and don't run too many plays. They put their players in a position to be successful, and they're just better than Texas A&M. So I'll take Arkansas.
Was that a shot at the offensive coordinator? At South Carolina?
Absolutely.
All right. Join the crowd, I guess. That's, most unpopular coach on any team, I guess, it's not winning is the offensive coordinator until it spreads to the head coach. General, your choice here, Arkansas, Texas A&M.
I'm going to go with Arkansas. Like I said, for the reasons I said earlier with the Notre Dame North Carolina game, I mean, I think they're giving Arkansas a lot of credit, even being at Texas A&M at home for Texas A&M. So I think Arkansas is going to take it.
All right, you're both taking the Hogs. You're both calling the Hogs. We go to Florida at Tennessee. Tennessee at home, favored by 10.5. General.
Give me Tennessee.
Give you Tennessee. Yeah, maybe a statement game for the Vols, right? Maybe they punish the Gators and Billy Napier gets his welcome to the SEC moment here, Governor.
I'm going to take Florida. I mean, I think Tennessee's going to win, but I just believe people are a little too bullish on Florida, and they haven't done it. I mean, or in Tennessee, they haven't shown me enough to think that they'll beat Florida by 10 points or 11 points. So I think I'm going to say that Tennessee wins, but it'll be more like a touchdown.
All right, you got the Gators. Let's go to the game in Columbia tomorrow night. Could be an offensive slugfest. Charlotte at South Carolina. I drove through Charlotte today coming up here to Winston-Salem. And, of course, they've done a lot of work on the road, still are. They've got that expressway now. It's a toll road, but and it moves great. But if you don't go over there to pay the tolls, you stay on the normal 77. You're going to get backed up in traffic getting through there. I don't know what are we rewarding all the rich people in Charlotte who want to go over and pay the tolls, and the regular folk who have to can't afford the tolls stay in the slow lane? I guess that's the way it works, Governor?
Well, I'm sure you were taking the toll.
No, I wasn't.
People that you were talking about that. Don't be complaining.
I'm not paying.
It
was $4.50.
Clemson fans.
It was $4.50. I'm not giving them $4.
Well, you obviously got there on time.
Yes, plenty of time.
So what your question is? What's the story?
Well, the Gamecocks are laying 22. The Gamecocks are laying 22.5 here.
Well, I'm going to take the Gamecocks. I mean, I just think that Charlotte's defense is that bad, and Carolina will find a way. If their coach doesn't get in the way, they'll find a way to beat them by more than 22.
All right, so you, God, you're coming out swinging tonight. So you want the Gamecocks laying the 22.5?
Yes, I'll take the Gamecocks.
You got the Gamecocks. All right, General, what do you think?
So I think Carolina's got to get this stink off of them from last week. I mean, I'm still feeling that beat down we got. Also, Charlotte, I think I've read this week, I think they've got the worst defense in the country. I think they're 131 out of 131.
Yeah.
So with being at home, Carolina has got to show something. They got to get some style points on there. They're playing against a very weak defense. So I'm going to go with Carolina.
Both of you taking USC. By the way, in the state of South Carolina, we only have one toll road, which probably should go out of business. If a toll road could go out of business, that Southern Connector, probably should go out of business. But down at Hilton Head, they had a toll road for the island crossover, whatever they called it, and they paid off the bridge. Yeah, right. And they paid it off, and they did away with the toll. So that's the way it's supposed to work.
Actually, Phil, don't we have two toll roads in South Carolina? Isn't there one up in Greenville and in Hilton Head?
No, the one in Hilton Head they've done away with. They've closed the tolls.
They closed it. Oh, they didn't check with me.
Because they paid for they checked with Curtis. They ran that through Curtis. And
Curtis holds a bag of money, so that's good. Yeah.
No, but they paid off the work. They paid off the bridge that was where the toll was for, and so
that's right.
They stopped making you pay a toll. So
that's exactly right. It's a great drive.
It is. All right, last game here at Winston-Salem. Wake Forest getting 7 against Clemson. General, you think what?
I'm gonna go with the Tigers. Wake is really good, and they really impressed me. I feel like the Clemson is just going to pull it out by more than a touchdown.
Clemson by more than 7. Governor, you think what?
I agree. I think Clemson's going to play well here, and I'm not sure Wade can score much on Clemson's really good defense. So I'm going to take the Tigers.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am taking Charlotte and the points. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game there. I don't expect those dinged-up South Carolina players to play because typically when Beamer says they're questionable, they don't play. Now, he might surprise me and get those guys out there, but I think their defense is very vulnerable to this passing attack of Charlotte. They're going to put some points on the board, but the Gamecocks will put a bunch of points on the board. The over might be the best play there if you're looking at doing that. All right, so you only disagree on one, Florida and Tennessee. General, amendment time, anything you'd like to change?
Now I'm going to hold.
You're going to hold. You're going to hold them, not fold them. You're going to hold them. Governor.
Well, we need more than one game different. I'll take Charlotte. I'm kind of like you. I was on the bubble about we're going to win that game handily, but I'll take Charlotte in the points.
You want Charlotte. All right, you got them. So, Governor, you got Clemson, Charlotte, Florida, Arkansas, Tar Heels, and General, you've got Clemson, Gamecocks, Tennessee, Arkansas, and the Tar Babies. Everybody good?
We'll find out next week.
We will. Gentlemen, thank you. I'll try to do a better job of counting the votes this time around so I don't have to face a lawsuit. And we will talk to you next week.
Take care, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, there you go. The football filibuster for tonight. Yeah, I like the Gamecocks to win, but I think it's going to be – I think they're going to give up some points.
Phil, if they don't win that thing by 4 touchdowns or more against the Charlotte defense that is atrocious and gave up 40 points to a Georgia State offense that I watched last night and was not impressed at all. South Carolina's got major issues. This is one they've got to roll. I mean, this should be a blowout by halftime, and that offense has got to get it in gear. And if you can't get it in gear against Charlotte, who are you going to get it in gear against?
Yeah, I mean, they got 2 weeks to get right. This Saturday and then against South Carolina State. They got 2 weeks where they'll be the superior team on the field with the talent, and they should get it right if they can, and we'll see what happens from there. Let's see. Do we have David standing by, Pat? If we do, we'll go to him. Let's go ahead and go. Well, okay. No, I was going to roll the break, but if you want to hit the break, we can hit the break and get David. But it's going to make us really tight with Lee Sterling. We are making decisions here on the air. All right, I guess we're going to go to the break, and after the break, we'll come to David Shelton and then to Lee Sterling. Get some Sterling picks from Lee. We'll have to go quickly with David here after the break, but we'll continue here on Sports Talk from Winston-Salem, Columbia, and down there in the PD in just a moment. Be right back.
In Columbia, South Carolina, the game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty of barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at ExperienceColumbiaSC.com.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sit from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. People often ask me, when should I start saving for college? And I always tell them, start today. September is College Savings Month, a great time to start saving for your child's education. Future Scholar makes it easy to open and manage your account online, and the plan offers options and benefits you won't find with a regular savings or investment account. So make this the month you go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. futurescholar.com.
If an insurance company is there to sell you insurance, shouldn't it also be there to service it with real people? At Farm Bureau Insurance, we're here to help with experienced agents ready to provide personal service when you need it most. Call today for your free no-obligation review for auto, home, and life insurance that's custom tailored just for you.
Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, Buddy Bridges and Farm Bureau Insurance have the right policy for you. Call Buddy today in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174.
South Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay, now we welcome in David Shelton, the music there for the high school scoreboard, which will be coming up tonight at 10:05 across the state. David, we must go quickly. Our time is short. Great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little hot right now. I'm sitting on the sun right now.
You're sitting on the what?
On the sun. The sun is coming through the press box window. It is baking me.
Okay.
But I'm not whiny. I'm not whiny.
No, I get that.
But you asked.
Where are you tonight?
I'm in Goose Creek to watch them play Somerville.
All right, very good. So, what about Fort Dorchester at Gaffney tonight? Across the state we go. What do you think?
Not sure Zoltan Osborne is going to play for Fort, so if that doesn't happen, Gaffney's going to win that game.
Dutch Fork taking on St. Francis of Maryland. That's a powerful program up there, taking on a powerful program down here.
Yeah, I mean, I know the reputation of St. Francis, and I know they got a lot of guys that are D1 commits, but you know what? Tom Knox is a magician. He's been a magician all year. He hasn't really had a quarterback, and he's been running the Wildcat with all kinds of different guys, and they've been winning, and Jarvis Green comes back tonight from his injury. So I think Silver Fox can give him a game.
Yeah. What do you think of this Sumter at Oceanside matchup?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting to watch. That you know, you got a really good defense in Sumter and a pretty good offense in Oceanside. And then Oceanside's defense is pretty decent, and Sumter's offense isn't great. So I look for a low-scoring game, very physical. I think Oceanside could win the game, but it'd be hard to pick against Sumter. They've been pretty good this year.
You've got Burns going down to West Florence. I can't ever remember Burns or anybody from up there going into Florence to play a team, but we have these sort of matchups now. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, that's a really interesting matchup to watch. I was talking to someone earlier. I said, they ought to pack that place. It ought to be a huge festive crowd, a lot of excitement and intensity, and because West Florence is ranked in 4A, they're really good, and has already beaten Lexington, and Burns is, I think they're number 2 in 5A. So that's going to be a great game, and regardless of the score, it's going to be a great atmosphere, I think, tonight.
I agree. You got Gilbert and Saluda meeting up tonight. How about that matchup?
Yeah, that's a good matchup. Gilbert's coming off that loss to Lexington, but they're very good, and Saluda's ranked number 1 in AA. They're close enough to each other to be kind of rival. I look for that, and I look for some points to be scored in that one too. I think there'll be some offense in that game.
All right, and one more. You got number 1 in 1A, St. Joseph's, playing at Southside Christian, which has not won a game yet, but still, a lot of respect around the state because of their status. How about this game tonight between those two in the upstate?
Yeah, they haven't won a game, but they play some pretty good people, and yeah, it is 1A football, and they've been playing up. And St. Joe's is number 1 right now, so but still, you got to beat the champ. And Southside Christian's a 2-time state champ. I think they'll pull it together by playoff time and still be a contender. But right now, it looks like St. Joe's is kind of setting the pace in 1A.
All right, I guess we should mention one more here. Down there in 1A, you got Lakeview going to play at Loris. Loris 4-0, Lakeview 4-1.
Yeah, that's a good matchup for both teams. Lakeview probably won't have the depth that Loris has got, and Loris has got a really good defense. But Lakeview's got a pretty good defense, so that'll be an interesting matchup. See how that comes out.
David, find a cool spot in the press box, and we'll talk to you at 10:05. Okay, don't melt away on us there.
Yep, sun's going down behind the trees. I see it now.
Thanks, David.
All right, David Shelton, he'll be with us 10:05. We bring you the high school football scores all across the state of South Carolina at 10:05. Lee Sterling coming up in just a moment. So as I look at our picks for this week, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to make a quick point about Loris. When is the last time you can think that in Horry County that Loris may be the best team over there?
Yeah, really? Like for never?
They're having a terrific season. First time, I believe, they've been 4-0 since 2014. I think that's what Ian Guerin tweeted out after their win. They beat Conway here, last week or the week before?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good football team.
Yeah, that's that they're having a great year. The Lions of Loris. All right, Lee Sterling coming up in just a minute, and we'll get his Sterling picks. In the meantime, we take a look at our picks, and right now, as we go into this weekend, got a two-way tie for the lead between Smitty and Pat. And Pat's trying to secure that by not giving us his picks for this week. I think he's going to wait till Saturday night to send us his picks. But they are 10 up and 5 down thus far. Dr. Rick, Kev Cohen, the Big Kahuna, they are 9 and 6. 8 and 7 would be the money coach Fran Halloran. 7 and 8 would be Teddy Hefner. The bad boy 7 and 8. Chris, you're 7 and 8. I'm 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the basement, we've got Pete Yanitator at 6 and 9, and Jim Corbett, the attorney for the Stars. He's 6 and 9 as well. It's time for Lee. I hear Lee's music. So we'll get back to our picks in a moment. But we bring you some professional help at this time on a Friday night. Lee Sterling joining us with his Sterling picks from ParamountSports.com. Good evening, Lee.
Good evening. Yeah.
How was your trip to Texas?
Incredible. If you haven't gone there before, put it on your bucket list. The core, 3,000 members strong, marching into the stadium and standing and yelling for 4 hours. You got to go.
Yeah, it's quite the scene. That's quite the stadium out there. 2-1 for you last week. Let's see what you've got this week. Let's begin. SEC, Tennessee laying 10 against Florida. I'm saying this is Billy Napier's welcome to the SEC moment. What do you think?
Sunbelt Billy? Yeah. So here's the problem, though. The Vols with Hendon Hooker playing great. No interceptions the first 3 games. If you're buying Tennessee now, it's like buying crypto at its height. Last 2 years, they were a 17.5 and 19-point underdog, and they lost by 12 and 24 points. You're laying 11 points here. Florida, buy at an all-time low here. Tennessee's going to win 31-28, but Florida covers.
Oh, tight one.
Yep.
Gamecocks, South Carolina laying 22 at home to Charlotte.
Yeah, I think South Carolina is the right side of this game, just because when you look at the quarterback situation for Charlotte here, Chris Reynolds, he's got to be playing at a high level for them to have any chance at all. I think the Gamecocks will rebound here. They're also 2-5 here, second of 2 home games, laying 7 or more here. South Carolina 42, Charlotte 14.
Gamecock fans would love that. Let's go to the game I'm at in Winston-Salem. You used to visit Winston-Salem when your daughter was here. And the Tigers
That's
are
true.
favored by 7 against these up-and-coming Demon Deacons. But, Clemson has slapped around Wake Forest now for the better part of a decade. Does it turn tomorrow?
Yeah, they have. Here's what's crazy about this, though. Most of the time, Wake Forest is just so injured. Last year, after the Army game, they were never the same. Clemson ran for over 6 yards, throw for over 10 yards per reception here. I think Wake Forest has the skill players to hang here. Clemson's won 13 straight. Clemson wins 35-32, but Wake Forest covers.
Wow. Game of the week, Texas A&M versus Arkansas. Get it at ParamountSports.com. Thank you, Lee.
Do what's supposed to happen here. Thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The United States and other G7 nations are condemning Russia's attempt to annex parts of Ukraine. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
A Kremlin-orchestrated referendum is underway in occupied regions of Ukraine that seeks to make them part of Russia. Reaction from White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre.
The United States will never recognize this territory or as anything other than part of Ukraine.
President Biden has called Vladimir Putin's actions a violation of international law. The White House is also prepared to impose additional economic penalties against Russia. Greg Clugston, Washington.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is detailing his commitment to America agenda, including policies to combat inflation, illegal immigration, and only allowing women to participate in women's sports. McCarthy talks about the impact of inflation at a press event in Monongahela, Pennsylvania.
I ask everybody across this country, could you afford to give up 1 month of your wages? 1 month of your wages. The sad part is these Democratic policies has already taken 1 month of your wages. So now the struggle that you have is you're living through 12 months with only 11 months pay now because inflation is so high.
McCarthy has teased the agenda for months as a pledge that can help the GOP take back the House majority and a blueprint for governing in 2023. The agenda includes a slate of general policy recommendations in 4 broad categories: an economy that's strong, a nation that's safe, a future that's built on freedom, and a government that's accountable. Stocks fell sharply worldwide Friday on worries an already slowing global economy could fall into recession as central banks raise the pressure with additional interest rate hikes. The Dow was down by 486 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Progressive is America's #1 motorcycle insurer, so we understand motorcycles. No, really, we have a bike translator.
Okay, so this bike says she is struggling with her place in the motorcycle community. Well, she says she hasn't peaked yet, but she's having a little epiphany, okay? Oh, that maybe life itself is the peak. Interesting. In my experience, I found that... So I just translate. Not allowed to have opinions. Got it.
Quote with Progressive and see if you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Instead of war games, it's a war on words.
Cadets at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado are being told that they should not say mom and dad, but instead use words that include all genders. According to Fox News, a slide presentation titled Diversity and Inclusion, What It Is, Why We Care, and What We Can Do, advises cadets to say parent or caregiver instead of mom and dad, and instead of saying the phrase colorblind, say color conscious. Tasha Stevens reporting.
The Biden administration is ramping up diplomatic efforts to press China to end provocative actions against Taiwan and keep it from active support for Russia's war against Ukraine. U.S. officials say Secretary of State Anthony Blinken made both cases in a meeting with his Chinese counterpart on Friday and a meeting on the sidelines of the annual UN Assembly in New York on Friday. Officials declined to describe the Chinese response. News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. We'll be cooling down considerably tonight with a low temp dipping to 49. Tomorrow, beautiful day to tailgate and enjoy football, sunshine, and a high of 81. Warmer on Sunday as we climb back to 90 as a high. There's a slight 20% chance of a Sunday evening shower. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, we are back with you, Sports Talk Media Network, here on this Founders Federal Football Friday night. Great to have you with us. Phil Kornblut in Winston-Salem for Clemson Wake Forest. Chris Bergen, just back from Atlanta. Coastal Carolina took down Georgia State. And Pat Daniel in our studios in downtown Columbia. And that would be the Dave and Buster's studio. Be sure to eat, drink, play, catch all the big games all season long at Dave and Buster's in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach. Now, we welcome back from, well, a brief respite from us, but he's back with us now, and he's on the move once again. He was in Atlanta last night. He's headed to Indy for NFL action this weekend. Mike Morgan here on Sports Talk. Mike Morgan on the move, brought to you by Gibson Insurance, where former Gamecock players Bo Mobley and Andrew Eister and – well, is Stuart Lake still there? Mike will have to tell us because Stuart's gone back to work for USC. But the rest of them are there for all your insurance needs, cost-effective solutions for now and long-term for what they offer. They are licensed with every insurance company in South Carolina, so give them a call today at 803-605-0029, 803-605-0029. Mike joins us now. Is Stuart still there, or is he given this up since he's gone back to work for USC?
Yeah, he's had to give it up, but you're still in terrific hands with Bo Mobley and Andrew Eister. And I'll bet, knowing Bo Mobley over there at Gibson, he's probably already recruiting another 5-star former baseball player or coach to come join that 5-star staff over there at Gibson. So that would be my guess.
So, in other words, delete him from the copy.
Delete him from the copy, but not from your heart.
No, he's in my
Keep
heart.
him in your heart.
But he's just been deleted. I meant to ask you that the other day, since I saw that he had gone back to USC. So, interesting game last night. I don't know if you heard what Jamie Chadwell had to say, but he said directly. This isn't a thing where you said basically. He said he directly on the nose called Georgia State dirty. And what did he say? Was it cheap and dirty with how they played last night?
Yeah, after calling the game, I got home probably close to midnight, and somebody asked me about it and sent me your tweet or the official Sports Talk tweet.
Yes.
And honestly, I was a little surprised. I mean, the game got very testy, let's just say. Players got very chippy, and if you know anything about Coastal, and I know one of your cohorts obviously does extremely well, they're not backing down to anybody. They are very brash in their own right, and you're not going to watch Grayson McCall back down from anybody who's trying to kind of intimidate them a little bit. And I think that might have been part of the strategy for Georgia State. Don't let Grayson McCall get comfortable. I don't know if I saw a ton that was dirty. Now, again, things that you see and you don't see when you're calling a game, because obviously my focus is on the ball. My focus is on the play. I know the play where Grayson McCall got hurt. I didn't think that was particularly egregious, but there might have been some other stuff in piles and whatnot. And like I said, there was one point at the end of the third quarter where it was starting to really escalate, and you saw the Georgia State players kind of heading toward the field, and it was one of those where what was the ultimate alibi was that, well, you can kind of go out there and put your four fingers up and say, yeah, we're ready for the fourth quarter. I don't think that's what they were doing at that point. I think it might have been go time for some of those kids who are getting tired. I mean, that's a really heated rivalry. It's a really good Sun Belt rivalry that I think is going to be great for years to come. And for Coastal to go in there and do what they did, I think Georgia State felt beyond frustrated because they really had to have that game. So kudos to Coastal. That's the biggest story is they're 4-0, coming off back-to-back 11-win seasons. I continue to be amazed at Grayson McCall, at the way he is able to orchestrate that offense and do everything so right. It's impressive to watch.
Mm-hmm. Mike, is there anything more annoying in all of college football than the train horn that Georgia State plays on third downs and when they score?
Well, see, I am that's in my DNA because for years going to Williams-Brice Stadium, I would hit that train right there. What is that, Phil? What road is that? Right, not too far from where.
Yes.
Yes. I would hit it for football games and when it was Sarge Fry Field, I would hit it for baseball games. So when I hear that, I feel like I'm back in Columbia. But yeah, I guess that's their thing. I guess that's when things are going well. They play that a lot, but they didn't get a chance to play it a ton, particularly in the second half when the game got away.
When you watched that game unfold last night and saw really the lack of support that Georgia State has for football, especially in a pretty football mad area, as you well know, in Atlanta, is that concerning if you're Sean Elliott that you can't get fans to come out and watch you play, or is that just MO for them? Unfortunately, they're going to be second, third fiddle in that area because obviously it's a Georgia town. Then it turns into a Georgia Tech town, and I guess State got to find somebody to come out and watch them play.
Yeah, full disclosure, that's the first time I've ever been to that stadium for a football game because I was lamenting on the air and off the air. The last time I was at the old Turner Field, I was calling a game in the broadcast booth behind home plate next to Don Sutton. And of course, if you look at the construction now, home plate would be like where the end zone is. So even though I'm here, and I'm very familiar with Georgia State, and I know they've made a lot of progress, and that was a coup for them to get that property because it's still a beautiful stadium in a lot of respects. It is disappointing. They've got the largest enrollment of any university in the state of Georgia, bigger than Georgia, bigger than Georgia Tech. So it's not a lack of students, but clearly it's not the same buzz that you get at most of those other, quite frankly, Sun Belt schools. I mean, Coastal's obviously one of them. They get great crowds at App State, which was on full display last week with College Game Day being there. You go to a game like Louisiana, they get good crowds. A lot of these Sun Belt schools, their fans are all in. Georgia State still has to kind of shed that image of being just a commuter school and, a fine university, but not necessarily a true kind of, big time college program feel to it. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised by the lack of crowd last night.
Mike Morgan on the move here tonight on a Football Friday here on Sports Talk. And Mike, transitioning over to the SEC, bigger game in your mind tomorrow, Arkansas, Texas A&M, or the Florida-Tennessee matchup?
Well, I think the closer game is Arkansas, Texas A&M. I think they're both games are big for similar reasons, but I think Arkansas A&M is going to be competitive. I'm not convinced Florida Tennessee is, unless Anthony Richardson begins to play like an SEC quarterback, as opposed to what we've seen the last 2 weeks from him. I don't think that game's going to be close in Knoxville. Whereas I I think Texas A&M could flat out win the game against Arkansas. Would not surprise me if they did. And I do think it'll be a close game. But I think it's big, really. There's so many different storylines there. If you're a Tennessee fan, the last thing you do is you take that game for granted because Florida has dominated that rivalry for a while now. So they're not going to sit there and, pound their chest until after that game is over. And then if they do win it, if they win it in convincing fashion, you're going to watch a tidal wave of national media bandwagon jumping, and everybody is going to be all in on Josh Heupel and the resurgence of Tennessee football. They are going to be saying Tennessee is back. It's been way too long, but Tennessee football is relevant. That will be the narrative, I promise you. If Texas A&M loses again to Arkansas, that narrative is going to be, holy smokes, how much money are we paying Jimbo for what? I think that, he's not on the hot seat. He's not going to get fired, but man, could it get ugly in a hurry if that happens.
Absolutely. I mean, that will knock them out of any sort of postseason conversation as far as a playoff is concerned. And then I want to see Arkansas, Alabama coming up the next week. You're headed to Indy. You get to call an NFL game tomorrow, and you're going to get to see Mahomes and Matty Ice and probably throw the ball up and down the field there in Indianapolis. So, I guess get your rest and rest your voice because you're going to be calling a lot of touchdowns, I have a feeling.
I hope so. I last time I called a Pat Mahomes game was his sophomore year at Texas Tech. That was about 7-8 years ago, and I knew he was good. I didn't know he was going to be this. And he's obviously has a chance to be all-time good. And by the way, I'm always on the lookout whenever I'm doing these NFL games for somebody from the Palmetto State. You want to take a guess what starter will be featured in this game for the Colts? Anybody? Bueller?
Taylor Stallworth used to be there. Is he still with them, Taylor Stallworth? Or is he moved on?
No, he is not there.
Yeah.
He's
defensive lineman. I know he was there. I think he's moved on somewhere else. Now, who you got? Who you talking about?
Stephon Gilmore.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore in his 11th year, 32 years of age, starting DB in a Colts uniform. So he'll be trying to defend those wide receivers that Pat Mahomes will be throwing to.
You have a great call, a good trip, and we'll talk to you next week, sir.
Okay, guys. Be well.
Thanks, Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move with us here on Sports Talk. All right, let's get to I finally got all our picks in. So I've already updated the standing. So we're looking ahead to this weekend. Notre Dame, North Carolina, and I'm taking the Irish. Give me the little sliver of points there. Chris, you're taking the Heels. Smitty's taking the Heels. Pat's taking the Irish. Dr. Rick's taking the Irish. And Notre Dame mostly the rest of the way. Jim's taking the Tar Heels. Bobby, Fran, Teddy, they're taking Notre Dame. Kevin's taking the Tar Heels. Arkansas and A&M, most of us are taking Arkansas here, it looks like. Arkansas. Fran's taking A&M. And Pat, you're taking A&M. Everybody else is taking Arkansas. Tennessee, Florida. Smitty is taking Florida. Fran's taking Florida. Pete's taking Florida. Everybody else is taking Tennessee. Gamecocks in Charlotte. I'm taking the points in Charlotte. So is Dr. Rick. Pat is doing likewise. Money Coach is taking Charlotte. Everybody else is taking the Gamecocks. Of the picks I have in, I do not have in the Bad Boys picks. Once again, he's got to be fashionably late. And Clemson at Wake. I think the Tigers are going to roll this one. And you know what? Almost everybody agrees except Corbett's taking Wake and Fran is taking Wake. Everybody else is rolling with the Tigers there, expecting them to do what they do to Wake Forest.
Death in Texas and Clemson.
It was supposed to be kind of tight last year. And that Clemson, somebody made a good point. The way that Wake will run a lot of its offense with that slow walk and that mesh. I mean, the Clemson defensive front just caves in the offensive line, and they're there to mesh with the meshing. So I think, if I remember right, I think Wake rushed for 36 yards against that Clemson defense last year. I would expect more of that same kind of stuff from the Clemson defense tomorrow afternoon at 12 o'clock. All right, there you go with our picks as well for this week. After the break, we'll talk some NASCAR. We still have birdies and bogeys coming up, and we'll get into recruiting report for tonight as well. We got a lot to squeeze in here on a Founders Federal Football Friday night, but we're going to get it in for you. And don't forget the high school scoreboard tonight. That comes your way at 10:05. We'll have all the scores for you, plus David Shelton's analysis and reports from across the state beginning at 10:05. And we're back after the break. Hi, this is Phil Kornblut of Sports Talk here with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. What words of wisdom do you have for those hitting the water this summer?
Phil, collisions can be prevented easily if every vessel operator fulfills three major responsibilities. One, practice good seamanship. It's the responsibility of every boat or PWC operator to take all necessary action to avoid a collision. Two, keep a proper lookout. Failing to keep a sharp lookout is the most common cause of boating collisions. And finally, maintain a safe speed. Remember, boat safe, boat smart.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. People often ask me, when should I start saving for college? And I always tell them, start today. September is College Savings Month, a great time to start saving for your child's education. Future Scholar makes it easy to open and manage your account online, and the plan offers options and benefits you won't find with a regular savings or investment account. So make this the month you go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Love it when it's forward, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders talk, the pack is moving past. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Love it when they're drafting, love it when they slide. Love it when the back's straight, the throttle's open wide. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys.
Let's go racing, boys, out in Texas, where they say everything is bigger. For the most part, all my exes live in Texas. That's why I hang my hat in Tennessee. How about that? We welcome in Jeff Owens in the fast lane once again here on Sports Talk. Jeff, good to have you with us. How are you?
Doing well, Phil. How are you?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you being with us. Before we move on to Texas, we wrapped up the first part of the playoffs, had the first cut down. No playoff contender with a win yet. What do you think about the way things stand at this point after the first three playoff events?
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, it just goes right along with the theme of the season. You just never know what's going to happen from week to week. And Bristol was the same thing. it was chaos. And, we saw two really surprising things happen. One, another first-time winner in Chris Buescher, who tied the record for 19 different winners this year, which I thought was incredible. But the other thing that came out of Bristol is just all the trouble that the playoff contenders had. I mean, you saw a bunch of them get in trouble. Kyle Busch had an engine problem that prevented him from advancing in the playoffs. Tyler Reddick, the same story. Kevin Harvick doesn't advance. So this has been a wild season and a wild playoff, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no telling, and you've got teams swapping crew members and things like that going on to try to improve things. I think there's some controversy maybe in some parts over that happening. So as we look at it right now, Chase Elliott is the leader in the points overall. Joey Logano is second. Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, and Austin Cindric are your remaining championship contenders. We said goodbye to Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, and Tyler Reddick as far as championship consideration. But wouldn't it be kind of just perfect for this season if Busch or Harvick, rises up and wins at Texas or wins another race here coming up?
Wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, I'm almost tempted to pick them just because of the way things have gone this year. And, and it's somewhat surprising, too, I think. First of all, it's very surprising to see Kyle and Harvick eliminated, and also Tyler Reddick. I mean, he had a great season, and I thought he was probably going to be a contender in the playoffs, and all three of those guys are out. And then you look at Chase Elliott. He was the favorite going into the playoffs, got off to a terrible start. Had a couple of problems early, and it looked like he might be in trouble. And he rallies and finishes second, and he's right back on top in points right now. So, the thing just keeps getting more surprising every single week. And, all these first-time winners and stuff is great, but I'm kind of the point where I'm ready to see who is going to emerge as the real championship contenders, because right now, I don't think we know that. The standings are just all jumbled up, and no one has asserted themselves so far. So maybe things start to normalize a little bit at Texas. But I'm ready to see who the two or three real legitimate title contenders are going to be, because I don't think we know that yet.
In the fast lane with Jeff Owens here on a Friday night. Looking forward to the race weekend out in Texas. And back to Phil's point about teams swapping pit crews. And, Jeff, I understand. But Kyle Busch, the top pit crew, I think, in NASCAR this year, going over to now Denny Hamlin, since Denny's still in the playoffs. Kyle is not. But how bad are the optics on this from JGR's perspective, because Kyle Busch is now leaving that team altogether at the end of this season?
Yeah, you're right, Chris. Not a good look. I'm sure Kyle may not be happy about it, or he may not care at this point. I don't know, but yeah, not a good look. But again, it shows you the pressure that these guys are under right now to advance in the playoffs. Denny is certainly a very legitimate championship contender, and his crew has had problems all year long on pit road. They're very fast on pit road, but they've had mistakes. And Denny leads the entire series in speed penalties as well. So they've got a lot of stuff to clean up if they're going to make a run at this championship. So, I think all of that has to do with why they change. But you're right, a very, very odd thing to see happen for it. But, to take a crew away to somebody else is a little bit of a bad look, and probably desperation and all the pressure these guys are under.
Got about a minute left with you, Jeff. I did want to get your take on Ryan Blaney. And here we go again with another tire bouncing down pit road. And Blaney's team got hammered, as NASCAR has done throughout the year. My question, and I asked KT about this earlier in the week, why is this still happening now that we're into the playoffs? Shouldn't these guys in the pit crews have all this sewn up and this not be a problem anymore?
Yeah, you're right. They should be. But again, these guys are under tremendous pressure and they make mistakes. I mean, you see a guy leading the race, he hits pit road and gets caught for speeding. So guys make mistakes under pressure like this, and that was a bad one last week. And when you're doing a 9-second pit stop, things can go wrong. I mean, it's an honest mistake. What I don't like about it is I think this penalty is way too hard.
Yeah, I agree.
Chief and 2 crew guys during the playoffs for the next few races. I think that's way too harsh, and I think NASCAR needs to back off a little bit on that.
I heard on NASCAR radio today, Dave Moody say that the Hamlin team has had 34 pit road violations this season. So that's why he was interested in making that change. Jeff, great stuff as always, my man. Have a great weekend. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much. We got birdies and bogeys with George Bryan coming up and some recruiting too. Don't go away. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. We'll be cooling down considerably tonight with a low temp dipping to 49. Tomorrow, beautiful day to tailgate and enjoy football, sunshine, and a high of 81. Warmer on Sunday as we climb back to 90 as a high. There's a slight 20% chance of a Sunday evening shower. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. Fall is all about getting back into a routine. Don't forget to pencil in the Melting Pot to your calendar. We're here for all of your special occasions, and if you don't have a special occasion, make the Melting Pot the special occasion. You can also join us for our limited time Oktoberfest menu, or just come in for dessert and a drink. Call us at 731-8500 for a reservation. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard, the Melting Pot.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting markets sold off around the world on mounting signs the global economy is weakening, just as central banks raise the pressure even more with additional hikes to interest rates. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at its lowest point since 2020 on Friday. The S&P 500 fell 1.7%, close to its 2022 low. Energy prices also closed sharply lower as traders worried about a possible recession. Iranian counter-protesters have rallied across the country in a show of support for authorities after nearly a week of anti-government protests and unrest over the death of a woman who wasn't wearing Islamic clothing properly. Thousands attended a rally in Tehran where they waved Iranian flags, and similar demonstrations were held in other cities. Authorities claim the rallies are spontaneous. Once again, the Dow down by 486. This is SRN News.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. The big bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled Mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get Mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not. Medicare Blueprint helped both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
gas prices, grocery prices, inflation has hit us all, and it's caused the Fed to raise interest rates. As a result, after historically low mortgage rates for what seemed like forever, interest rates for a mortgage have jumped in recent months. Fran Halloran here. Let me make something clear to you. Mortgage rates are rising. They may continue to rise as the Fed tries to get a grip on inflation. What hasn't changed is the incredible customer service you'll get from Greg McCoy and Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Greg can't control interest rates. He can, however, control fees. With rates on the rise, now more than ever, you need to know you're getting the very best deal. Greg will make sure of that. He's more than just a mortgage guy. Greg McCoy is your trusted advisor. You might be surprised to learn how much Simplified Mortgage and Greg McCoy can do to help you with your biggest financial investment. Not sure? Have questions? Give Greg a call at Simplified Mortgage, 803-722-6044, or find him online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com. Greg McCoy, NMLS 119871.
Hi, honey. I am so excited about finally taking our vacation out of the country.
Me too. We've waited 2 years for this.
But we still have plenty to do before we leave for our trip.
You're right. The travel agent said we have to have negative COVID tests.
Lucky for us, we have True Pharmacy. They can take care of all of our COVID needs.
They do travel testing too?
Yes. Isn't it great to know we have such a great pharmacy to take care of us?
True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Divine Street in Columbia.
Birdies and bogeys around South Carolina coming up in just a moment. But first, give me the recruiting report on this Friday night, brought to you by Seawells. Make sure you get out to Seawells next week from 11 till 2 for the best luncheon buffet in the business for $13. You can't beat it. And the very best in the catering business, the Seawells family and their staff, they handle all your planning and catering needs. They're at 1125 Rosewood Drive, and their number is 803-771-7385 online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So Clemson offered Khalil Barnes, safety, 6'1", 185, Bogart, Georgia. He'll be here tomorrow. He's a Wake Forest commitment since late June. But Mickey Kahn, the Clemson safeties coach, has been recruiting him, has stayed in touch with him. They wanted to see what happened with a few other prospects, always keeping Barnes on their board. And then after seeing his video of this season, because he hadn't played much in the secondary prior to, they became enamored with him, and they have offered him. And the Tigers now are in pretty good shape with him, though right now he said he's going to focus on the rest of his season, and he'll think about things as they move along. But his focus right now is completely on his team and trying to win a state championship. He will get to Clemson for a visit, an official visit at some point. Mississippi State, Missouri, and North Carolina, some others who are jumping in on him. Last year, coming off an ACL injury, he was all-region, had 30 tackles, broke up 13 passes, grabbed 3 interceptions. He also caught 50 passes, 771 yards, and 9 touchdowns. At USC tomorrow, offensive tackle Isaiah Jatta of Snow Junior College in Utah will take his official visit. Also, 2024 commitment, cornerback Carson Hobbs will take an unofficial visit. His teammate, 2023 receiver Tennell Bryant, is also coming in to visit the Gamecocks. Some others who have said they'll be in: 24 offensive tackle Tristan Haddock, Claremont, North Carolina; 24 receiver Mikel McClellan of J.L. Mann; 24 quarterback Riley Staten of Gray Collegiate; 25 defensive tackle Elijah Griffin of Savannah; 25 River Bluff quarterback Parker Murray; and 26 quarterback Mason Holtzclaw of Wren. Also, USC target defensive end tight end Nick Harbor of Washington takes his official to Michigan this weekend, and Clemson target defensive tackle Caden McDonald of Sewanee, Georgia, takes his official visit to Ohio State this weekend. 2024 corner Tavoy Fagan of Tampa plans to visit Clemson next weekend. 24 offensive tackle Blake Frank of Greenville going to Ole Miss tomorrow. Clemson the next weekend, Alabama on the 8th. 24 receiver from Greenville, Mazeo Bennett at Tennessee tomorrow. Midland Valley running back Travion Dunbar at Florida State tomorrow. 2024 receiver Brandon Raymond of Philadelphia was at USC last Saturday. Basketball, 24-6'4" Cam Scott of Lexington set an official to Auburn November 11th. Per Lou Bajak of the State, he will go to Florida State October 1st, Tennessee unofficially on the 15th, USC officially on the 22nd. Scott said yesterday coaches from USC, Clemson, Georgetown, Kansas, and Auburn have been in this week, and also Tennessee was in today. 6'11" Jordan Butler of Christ Church takes his official to Florida State on October 1st. He's already been to USC in Missouri. Baseball, 2024 midfielder, middle infielder Briggs Sullivan of Oceanside Collegiate committed to Clemson. 2024 third baseman Ethan Wagner, Aurora, Illinois, committed to USC. There you go with the recruiting report brought to you by Seawells. And after that, I feel like I need to be on the tee somewhere with a driver in my hands after warming up with my Tsunami bar and being all loosey-goosey and ready to swing the golf club. With that in mind, let's welcome in George Bryan III, birdies and bogeys around the state of South Carolina. We've got the President's Cup down the road over in Charlotte. Huge crowds there, and the Americans are running away with it. George, plenty of golf to talk about here as we hit fall.
Oh, and we are just beautiful. How about the weather? Hey, the golf enthusiasm. Sad I can't make it to Charlotte and Quail Hollow, but the TV coverage is spectacular, and it's really pretty nice just to be outside here in Columbia, South Carolina. So, what a privilege. This is the time of year to play golf, my favorite time. Football season's in, golf courses are wide open. And, hey, I want to go ahead and bring in our guest tonight. We'll miss Tsunami Robbie, but we have Robert Dargan, the AC Flora girls golf coach. So let's go ahead and get Coach Dargan on the tee. So welcome, Coach. Glad to have you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Glad to be on.
Let's tee it up. Give us we might as well just break it right open. Any surprises going on there in Charlotte with the President's Cup, Coach?
For me, no. I thought it'd be about 30 points total. So I'm thinking my prediction is 22-8. I think we're about on pace for that. Is that right? Like a beat down.
It's 8-2. Yeah, 8-2 after today's 4-ball. The Americans won 3, and there were 2 ties. They've only lost 1 match so far, so they are kicking some major butt over in Charlotte, guys.
Yeah, this is going to be like Alabama versus SC State, unfortunately, for the international. It's just it's going to get ugly.
I picked up some of the pre-event hype, and it seems a lot of attention has been given to what happened to the international team and what the effects of the Live Tour. I like I really like what McGinley's talking about, though, as far as where the hearts are, and it's you still can't ever happen. You can't ever tell in the team event, Coach. There's very few out there that have had your level of team success, and I'm glad. Appreciate you being on the tee short notice. It was kicked off. I got to throw this. Some of your nephew was out. I watched him swing. He's a lefty. Great job, Jaden's got an awesome swing.
He's an athletic kid, and it's funny. He asked me if he had any golf clubs, and I was like, "Well, are you left-handed?" Because I never used left-handed or right-handed for golf. And he's, I don't know. And I was like, "Well, how do you play baseball?" He goes, "I'm not left-handed." I was like, "Well, you're a left-handed golfer." And so I gave him some clubs. I guess you saw the Carolina bag when he came out there. I guess that's how you figured it out.
Oh, your college bag and club.
Yeah. I gave him some clubs that didn't work for me, and I was like, some old stuff. And I was like, he's a good kid, and he's athletic. And I told him, I was like, the hard part about golf when you start is that first year is it's a challenge. Because you try to make an unnatural movement feel natural, and if you just stick with it, it'll start coming. I'm glad he came to see you because you can do him a world of good. And
he's a good kid. So I'm glad that all worked out.
Freshman at Midlands Tech, going to transfer to USC.
Yep.
And just getting started in the game. But hey, we were on that topic about team golf, and we've had conversation about the new Live Tour, and everybody's got their opinion. From a golf, just growing the game of golf standpoint, I have always been a proponent of the team. We don't take advantage of that format in our country, but that's my opinion. And Coach, you're one of the most prolific team players that I know. Talk a little bit about the dynamics of team golf and what you appreciate about it.
Well, Steve Lee was coaching me in South Carolina, and we were playing something about a year ago. And we were just sitting around talking, anyway. I was like, how did you pick? And I was just curious, picking his brain. Like, I was trying to figure out, it's hard sometimes to pick who you take to a competition, a group. And I was like, obviously the better players, but the kids, the people have to get along too and like each other. That's a huge part of it. Huge part of it. Because they're, most of downtown, they're in hotel rooms or in a house somewhere, and they're hanging out together. And if you don't like each other, it kind of affects your play negatively. And so I figured he would say that, but it was interesting to see how he broke it down. And so I try to do that the same way, honestly. You try to figure out obviously on the girls' team, we don't have as many players, so it's pretty cut and dry who's going to play, who's not. The boys' team at Florida, we're very fortunate to have a lot of depth. And so you try to mix and match and give everybody equal opportunity of playing time. But when it comes down to it, stroke averages are important too, but the guys and the girls have to like each other, because if they don't, then it's more negatively affected. And I always thought, just from my standpoint, George, I'm sure you'll chime in on this too, and your boys playing in South Carolina, and you'll never feel any more pressure in golf than you do when you're in a team competition, because you don't, from a guy's standpoint, I don't care about necessarily letting myself down. I don't want to let my teammates down. And so if you can handle that pressure, you can handle any pressure. And that's the one thing we kind of talked to them about. And then, the worst kind of pressure is the kind of pressure you put on yourself. And so it's all hard enough as it is. So you got to kind of relax and make a good swing, be prepared, and let the chips fall where they may. And that's a lot of stuff out of your control. And but I think team golf is outstanding. I've enjoyed playing high school golf. I enjoyed playing college golf. And, and then we played Palmetto Cup matches against the pros that you were on a few times. And that kind of stuff. It's just, you don't get a lot of it. And it is fun. And I don't know. I'm kind of torn on the lift thing, honestly. I'm definitely a market guy, free market fella. And, if someone's willing to pay somebody something, it is what it is, and I'm fine with that. But that being said, I just think a lot of this stuff is, for the powers that be, the Greg Normans of the world, are being done for not necessarily the right reasons. And I think it's more of a revenge thing for him, which is, for the World Golf Championship thing way back when. And I could be completely wrong on that. That's just my opinion. So I don't know how I feel about that. How does Westbrook feel about it and people like that? They're obviously close to it, because it's kind of a double-edged sword. I kind of can see it both ways.
Well, I've expressed my opinion about it several times on the show. It's not necessarily popular, but it is mine. I don't intend to change it until I see something different. And I've had the privilege of being up close, listening to some of the other players, PGA Tour players, even some that have switched. And it's kind of simple. In golf, it's a professional entity, and it's another opportunity. The team thing again gets my interest up, because I had the privilege of going to Scotland, England and Scotland back in 1997 on the heels, in fact, the week of the Ryder Cup. So 1997, and it was I never could have imagined the effects of the team influence. It's a little bit, it'd be the equivalent to me of, so a lot of our football is pretty popular this time of year, I think, Phil. I don't know. We were about 8. Robert, should we award him a 2-shot penalty for slow play and teeing us up late tonight?
All good.
Well, so football, I think, is kind of popular over here, and a lot of people go to football games and they don't even play football anymore. Imagine that. Well, in Europe, there are a lot of people that don't play golf, and they keep up with all the details, just like our football fans over here, and they never play golf. I was intrigued with that. They know details about players, and I was impressed. And so I think the old. I remember when I first got into it, the team competitions between Columbia Country Club and Spring Valley. That was pretty heated. Forest Lake and in Spring Valley. Pretty heated.
The old Velvet Heffel tournament.
Absolutely. And so I think from that standpoint, we're missing out in this country. And I'm not sure how that's going to play out with the Live. But I do know each one of those players a little bit or a lot on the President's Cup team, even on the international side. And it is, they have a different approach. They express themselves different. I do think that influences the game of golf. And can't leave Phil out of it. Phil, I hope you're not taking a nap. You jump in.
No, I'm totally zoned in on you guys. And, the team thing, I like the PGA Tour like it always has been. I like teeing off on the number one tee. I like 72 holes. I like a cut. Now, I know the golfers want to get paid, but I also understand that part of the beauty of the PGA Tour over all these years has been, you need to earn your money, not just have it given to you and guaranteed you. That's the difference. You do have all these guys, I guess, make money because they have sponsors. So they got some sponsors to help them along the way if they don't make cuts and don't make checks that way. But, I was talking with someone today about the eventuality, and you guys can take it from here, the eventuality of the Live Tour and the PGA Tour being forced to come together. But what rules would the PGA Tour accept? Would they accept shotgun starts? Would they accept 54 holes? Would they accept no cut and everybody getting paid? What would they accept?
I think the shotgun start thing. I get it for the younger generation. Everybody tees all at the same time. You're done in 4 hours. I think the shotgun start thing is laughable. I just don't get it. It's not championship golf. Captain's choice. Shotgun start and 54 holes is not championship golf. So even the major 54 holes and start them and shotgun start that. I think I get that appeals to a certain audience. That certain audience will age out of that because I think it's a novelty. It's like acid wash jeans or something. I don't get it. Maybe that's me being 53 years old and being like some old guy. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that. Now, I've had a conversation with Stephen Hartwig about this. Stephen's the head pro out at George. You know Stephen well. He played with Dustin Johnson in high school. They're great friends. He's the head professional out at what's the course at Lake Murray?
Timberlake.
I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. And he and I and we're friends, and we have a completely opposite of view. And I was like, well, hey, that's why America's America. You can have different views, and I'm fine with that. Maybe it's for me. I just don't like Greg Norman, and maybe that's me. And I just think he is not a good person. And I'll just leave it at that. And maybe if someone else was there, he's been trying to do something like this for 20 years. It's just like now he's got. I don't think he has the best motives, and maybe that's probably just my opinion speaking through there.
Yeah.
But I think it's. I don't know. I'm not a proponent of that, but maybe a lot of people are there, and a lot of people that I really respect their opinion on golf are, and I know driving in the car with the kids on the floor team last spring, we were talking about that, and they were all for it. They thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I was like, but they're 17 and 18 years and younger too, so my opinion's changed a lot from that point forward when I was that age to now. So I guess they're going for that 20. Was it 25 to 40, 20, whatever, 21 to 45 demographic? And maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Brett plays at South Carolina, and we're still pretty good friends. He plays in the senior tour. And we were talking about it just recently, asking what he thought. He was like, he had the company line, well, someone's willing to pay you that kind of money. You should, and I respect that, but he was kind of anti it too. He was. But I don't know. I'm sure it's a mixed bag out there on tour. All the guys are. It's funny, the guys that I thought would definitely go. I thought Adam Scott would definitely go when all this was coming out because he plays a limited schedule anyway, and I thought a guy like Dustin Johnson would. But I just that's obviously
Hey,
I didn't do that correctly.
Here's what I think it's setting up, especially as they unwrapped it at the President's Cup. I think we're setting up to see a competition between the Live Tour and the World. And I think
it might do that eventually, yeah.
Hey, and I also see, there's nothing more fun to see for me than to see a Robert and a David Dargan get out. I mean, you all on your individual ball, I've seen you all play pretty good, okay, individually, but as a team, you just torched it. That's weird. That's weird for me. And
well, the thing is, you will say something to your brother that you would never say to anyone else in the world, And,
that's what I'm saying.
And your brother won't take it personally. Like
that's a beautiful thing. Well, I think
it is. It is. That's just something that we actually went over to Camden today and played with some guys. Matt McCarley has over there to play, and I think we shot the par 70, and I think we shot about 63 on our. It was both shot around par, but we shot 63, so we quote unquote brother-in-law it pretty good, and so yeah, it's David and I have. I don't know, it's just how when you team up with somebody, let's say me and you are in a team together, it's like we get off to a good start, everything's fine, but you're trying to feel each other out. I don't want to let you down, you don't want to let me down, and you got a little bit of pressure, extra pressure there. But if it's your own sibling, your blood relative, it's like, I'm not trying to impress him. I don't care what he thinks about me. He doesn't care what I think. He doesn't care what I think about him. First time I'm playing, and we don't. You do your best. You don't apologize. And Dave and I have a unique relationship because he's 4 years my junior, but we work together. He lives about a block from me. His kids are a little younger than my kids, but they all were friends. They all grew up together like they were, brothers and sisters more than cousins. Or they're all girls and sisters. And so that's good. And we always enjoy playing together. And
that's one of the dynamics I believe we're going to see is we'll see like JT and Jordan Spieth. They have unique dynamic in their team, but then there'll be a bigger team, the 4-player, 5-player team, and then you'll have there'll be a team construct, I think, this is just a guess, and I'm making stuff up, Live versus the World, and there'll be 3 levels of team, and then there'll be the individual matches that they can come up with a format and get everybody involved, a lot of fire. And I'm just getting my 30-second call from Phil there. He says we got to putt out, Robert.
All right.
And it's been a privilege having you tonight.
Yeah, I could blow a horn, George. I could do the horn.
Let me say real quick. Our girls team that is in season right now, they got a good chance to win state, and I'm looking forward to that. We played state in October down at Hilton Head. Our boys team finished last year ranked 8th in the country. We got a lot of good. We lost 2 kids, but we got a good group coming back. We have a great chance to repeat again as state. So we're looking forward to some good things at AC4. And thank you for having us.
Super.
We really appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Phil, are we going to get that kid at Carolina, the 5-star kid?
If you put a golf club in his hands, I think you'll get him.
Okay, perfect. George, you can do that.
Beautiful. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, coach. And this segment, as it has been for the last few months, sponsored by Tsunami Bar Sports. We missed Tsunami Robbie tonight, but if you want to have some fun, getting some physical work done, and you want low to no pain but a great gain, you got to go visit TsunamiBarSports.com, and you check in with the website there, Phil, where you're going to hang those videos up to give a little preview. So, hey, thanks for the time. Look forward to next week. Tee 'em high, but shoot 'em low this weekend, Phil.
Thank you, George.
Thanks,
you
guys.
hit them well. Hit them down the middle. That's right. I went out and visited Tsunami Bar Sports last week, guys, and George, they put the bar on me, and they put the little the laginator, I think is what he calls it, the club you swing and you kind of lag it, and it helps you with your contact point. Anyway, George took videos of me. I'm going to put them up on the website here when I have an opportunity here soon, but that place is absolutely fantastic. And when you come to town, Chris or Pat, one day, I'll take you out there.
Cool.
This is where they make the tsunami bark. I mean, this is a worldwide. I saw them. I went back into the area where they heat them up, where they heat the metal, and it comes out of the oven, and they mold them into the bars. These are things that are sold worldwide. It started in the Clemson weight room, and now it's a phenomenon. And it's the stuff they make and the stuff they do is absolutely fantastic. And got to take you out there to take a look at it, but also got to get a bar in your hands. You got to start working out with this thing. They are great. Serious.
Very cool. And they were chatting about the President's Cup. Can we get rid of that event altogether? It makes zero sense.
Well,
it's the international team.
Yeah,
it's the international right, but it's the international team minus the majority of the really good players around the world in Europe. And no one cared about the Ryder Cup until the Europeans started winning back in the mid 80s. President's Cup is lopsided, just the way the Ryder Cup was for about 2 decades.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
I don't understand why we need 2 of these events.
Looking at it yesterday, man, the crowds in Charlotte were huge.
Sure.
I mean, huge. I don't know what TV ratings look like, but they are huge. There on the fairways. All right, don't forget the high school scoreboard tonight at 10:05. Look forward to being with you. Follow me tomorrow here at Winston-Salem for Clemson, and follow Smitty Saturday night for the Gamecocks. Otherwise, have a great weekend. See you Monday on Sports Talk.